Hey, it's Marthea Pitts, the MSW coach, and I am back for another episode of my podcast, Macro Social Work Your Way, or video if you're watching this on YouTube. And I am so excited. I just told Michelle, my guest, before we hit record, this is truly a full circle moment that we're having right now. Because I remember when I had my get to know you chat with Michelle for the first time, where she was inquiring about joining the next cohort of the Micro to Macro Career Accelerator. And I was in Dallas just visiting. This was last year around the early part of the year, April, I think it was April, May. And she was just inquiring about the program. I was meeting with her in my hotel room downtown. I was like, yeah, it'll be great. I was learning about the things. Fast forward a little less than a year, I think it's been, because you've been in your job for 90 days at this point. It may have May of last year. She has already come through the Micro to Macro Career Accelerator. She did all of the things, and now she's coming back to talk about her macro job that she got. So, Michelle, I'm so excited that you are here. Introduce yourself to the people and tell them who you are as a human before we start talking about professional, Michelle.
Okay, Michelle as a human. I am a wife, a mother. Um, I am me. I love African culture, gardening. I'm a gardener. I work out to stay healthy and sane. I'm a health equity advocate. Mental health is very important to me, and spreading the word that it shouldn't be a stigma. Um, yeah, that's me. I'm full of joy and just happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Yes, I'm so excited. Michelle and I was laughing offline because normally when Michelle's in the Micro to Macro Career Accelerator, we would have our one-on-one office hours. Normally her son would make a guest appearance, and he wanted to be here today, but
Yes.
because we're recording, so it's just us. So Michelle, I want to like go back. I want you to explain to people what type of work background, work history, case management, direct service background, however you talk about it, you came from, where you were before we had that get to know you chat. What did your work experience look like? Can you break that down for the people? Tell us what type of social work you've done over the years.
Sure. So my population that I primarily worked with was older adults. That was just my love. Um, Previously, I worked for a senior center where I coordinated the county-funded lunch program. And that was always interesting. So helping, the menu came to us from the county, but like coordinating with the kitchen staff, what the meals would be, and interacting with our participants every day. It was great. And then also, in addition to coordinating the lunch program, when lunch wasn't happening, it was basically open like office hours. So whenever someone had a need, they would come to our office and we would provide them with resources, answer any questions that they had. Um, I was there for maybe about 6 years. And even before that, I was working with seniors through a health plan. And the program was visiting older adults in their homes, helping them to remain in their homes for as long as safely possible. So that was like an interdisciplinary team with nurses, psychiatrists, and social workers working together for that goal. So I've done a lot of work with seniors, a little bit of work with adults in general in mental health settings, things like that. I worked with kids before and I was like, this isn't for me. So there were many other jobs, that kind of gave me a feel for what I didn't want to do. So it gave me that experience, which I still appreciate. So yeah, that's kind of what I did, direct practice with older adults and mental health type of work.
I love that. So you said that for 6+ years you worked with seniors in the food program and home services. And then like you knew through other experiences what populations you didn't want to work with. How many of those like experiences did you have of like maybe where you got a case management direct practice job and you're like, this is not the population? Were there more than just like that one time where you identified?
Oh, of course, of course. So before I knew I wanted to go into social work, I was doing social work like jobs. So that was working in inpatient settings with children. It was like summer camps, after school programs, and later on, like after graduating college, still doing those types of things. And it was like, you know what? I need the money, I need a job. But at the same time, it's like, this isn't really what I want to do. This has to be like temporary. So I've had a number of jobs where it was like, okay, I know this is not like where I'm going to be. This is kind of temporary. I'll learn what I need to learn, and then I'll have to move on from here. So that's happened quite a bit.
Okay. So prior to coming inside of the micro to macro career accelerator, had you attempted on your own to get a macro social work job?
Yes, it was unsuccessful. And the thing is, I was unsure of exactly where to look because my previous job searches, it would lead to other direct practice jobs. And I wasn't quite sure how to, I guess, get my foot in the door to something that was macro. Because my social work program, you had the choice of direct practice or the community organizing social administration track. I went with direct practice, thinking in my mind as a student or incoming student that, oh, let me just get this experience as direct practice, and then I could eventually become a manager, and that'll be macro, or that was kind of my line of thinking. So yeah, it was challenging. I wasn't quite sure what to look for when I was looking for a macro job, but I just knew it was time to step out of direct practice and transfer my skills in another way.
So I want to tease that apart, right? And this is
Mm-hmm.
for the listeners, because I know you went through the micro to macro career accelerator. You have learned this firsthand. For the listeners, this is a common thing that I hear from social workers where they leave their degree program with the assumption, or even just learning it by being in the field, thinking that the local social service supervisory jobs is macro related work, and it's not.
Right.
There is a very distinct difference. Those are two very separate practice areas. In the social service agencies, that's social work administration. That's like the program that I went through. It's a social work administration program. It prepares you to be like the CEO, maybe of a local nonprofit or a social service
Mm-hmm.
agency. Macro level work, you're not working in an agency in any shape, form, or capacity where you're serving the actual clients. Um, Administrative work is you're like the director, supervisor, like I explained, and you're doing the administrative piece of making certain that the program is running. This is why a lot of people think that
Mm-hmm.
grant writing is macro level work, when in actuality, a true macro job, you are with the organization that issues the grants, not writing the grant to get the funding. You are the funder, you represent the funder. And so that is something that's very common. And I'm glad that you talked about that, because I don't think I talked about it in a while on my page. So I know that helps someone. I want to ask you a question. What did you, so let me back up because I want to jump
Mm-hmm.
ahead and I want to go to this. So you talked about the challenges to finding a macro social work job. Where were you emotionally, like in your desire to leave case management, direct practice work to do something more systems based? Because you talked
Mm-hmm.
about the fact that you're a health equity advocate, and we're going to jump into that more later. But where were you emotionally? Had it taken a toll on you, this deep desire to shift into this more systems level area of work?
Yes. So emotionally, I was in a place where I knew I had outgrown what I was doing. And it's tricky because it's difficult to step out of your comfort zone. and it was comfortable. Like what I did, I could do it like the back of my hand, basically know what I was supposed to do. Um, Emotionally, it was a bit draining and just like a little bit burned out and not satisfied, not happy, not content, because I knew there was something greater. I just didn't know the path to get to the next step, to step out of that comfort zone, which is super uncomfortable, of course. So emotionally, that's kind of where I was like, okay, something's got to give. I know I can make more money than what I'm making. I know I can use my skills in other ways. As much as, you know, I overall enjoyed working directly with people and my older adults, I just needed something different. So how it came about was I was on LinkedIn because that was one of my ways I was looking for a job. And you somehow came up on my feed as the social work coach. And I was like, what is this? So I started following you and listening to your podcast because you posted it. And I was like, okay, this is like you're talking about where I'm at, and I'm getting little nuggets about what I can be doing. And then you talked about how you have a cohort. And I was like, I wonder how much that costs, but I'm gonna still listen to the podcast. I'm gonna collect my little gems and just continue to follow you because you share a lot on like Instagram, LinkedIn, all that. So I forgot what your question was, but it was
Oh, this is it. Go ahead. Tell the people
okay.
like what made you sign up. Because
Yes,
that was
yes.
your immediate thought about the price, and that's common. Yeah, let's hear this.
Yes. Real talk. It was like, okay, well, I gotta find out what this is. I'm pretty much at the point where it's like, what I'm doing isn't working. I need help. I've never had a job coach before. And I had multiple conversations with my husband because it was like, okay, I found this thing that sounds pretty interesting. This is the cost. And that's an investment. So it was conversation basically about, okay, what are the pros of this? What are the cons of this? Do you think you'll get a job after going through this? Um, so yeah, it was a lot of conversation, and I decided, you know what? I really think it's going to be worth it. I'm essentially going to invest in myself by doing this and learning the things that I don't know because I can't rely on LinkedIn and Indeed, reaching out to either peers or family, people I know professionally, because it's not working like, you know, how you want to, I guess, network. And I am an introvert, so networking to an extent seems a bit overwhelming, even though I can put it on a good face when I have to, and it seems like I'm an extrovert. That is not the case. So these things were not working, and I was like, I want to give this a go. So that's how I came about joining the cohort to learn about, you know, how I can identify what my transferable skills are, um, and the things that you taught us, which were like
Yes.
great.
I love that, right? So I want to stop for a moment because that makes
Yeah.
me remember. I remember that day because, like I said, I was in my hotel and I actually had my laptop in the window seat. I was looking out over downtown from some floor in the hotel. And Michelle was like, "Yeah, talk to my husband." I remember thinking about Bray. I don't know nothing about married people business. I don't know. And she was like, and he's all for it, but we just wanted to know. Like it was,
Yeah.
okay, this is my first time where it's like, there is a spouse. But I remember you saying that then that your husband was very supportive of your decision, right? And
He
so
was.
I was
Yeah.
like, it's gonna be good. And I remember telling him,
Yeah.
like, we could get you a macro job. Like, when we were on that call, it was supposed to be 15 minutes. I think we were on
Yes.
close to an
Yes.
hour. I was like, yeah. You have done what? You could easily get a job.
Yes,
And
yes.
I even started giving you strategies right then of where you could go and how it would look. And then it like prompted a whole conversation around the issues that she saw in her work that could really propel her in this direction she wanted to go. So before
Mhm.
we talk about your career win, because you are celebrating your 90-day anniversary on
Yes.
your job, let's talk about the journey. So you paid me your money.
Mhm.
What was the journey like coming inside of the micro to macro career accelerator? You were a part of your cohort. Did you have any issues with like onboarding? Once you started going through the curriculum, did you have any issues, aha moments? Let's talk about that.
Okay, so getting into the cohort, um, that was very interesting because I didn't know like how many people signed up for that cohort, and the way you do it is like overlapping. So it's multiple stages that people are in. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know if it would be like 5 people, 10 people, or what. So that was a bit surprising because I didn't know what to expect with that. So everyone's basically going at their own pace, and I appreciate that. And as I listen to the people who joined before me, and they're talking about, their 3 Ps, um, and they might be at their resume stage, or they might be at the interview stage. I was like, wow, okay, this, I can see that it's worth it already. Even though I don't have everything, I could just tell. So the way you presented your what you call it, the on the computer.
The
So
yeah, the curriculum.
yes, the curriculum. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word. So the way that you presented the curriculum was very organized, and I want to appreciate that because I'm a very organized person. And it left room to like ask questions, and then there were always like something to do at the end of each curriculum to work on. And I'll tell you, the challenging part was the 3 Ps, figuring out my purpose and population, because I had done so much. I felt like I still wanted to do it all. And it's like, no, Michelle, narrow it down. What's really your passion? What's really your interest? Like, you can work with that. And yeah, that took a while to tailor to myself, a lot of introspection and a lot of work to get to the point where I felt like, okay, this is what it is. So that was it was uncomfortable and challenging, but needed. So that helped me focus when it came to when you taught us how to look for the jobs and looking specifically, like line by line, what the job descriptions are, things like that.
Yeah, I love that. So I'm gonna stop there because
Mm-hmm.
so you taught about earlier about clarity being you knew that was an issue for you earlier because
Yeah.
you had worked with previous populations, all of the things. And then fast forward, you're now inside of the accelerator and you're going through the 3 Ps framework. And so this is something that I tell people when they meet with me for Get to Know You chats about basically like coming inside of the accelerator is that the 3 Ps part, which is for the listeners, that's my framework that we use to help you get clear about what it is that you want to do for your new macro job. Because just because you've done something in the past doesn't mean you have to be married to that and get a job. Your next job has to be related to that. And you're going to be shocked and awe as to the transition that Michelle
Mm-hmm.
made from where she went in her macro job, but we're gonna save that for the people, right? But that's the benefit of working with me because I help people pivot into completely unrelated areas. Just because you work with seniors doesn't mean you have to work with them in the same capacity you had in the past, right? But we'll talk.
Right.
So
Right.
with the 3 Ps clarity process, the career clarity process, it is a process. And that's what you're telling the people. Like,
Yes, definitely.
and the hardest part of people going through the clarity process is unlearning the way they've been approaching getting jobs in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Where If the job is
Right.
shown as vacant or available, you just apply and take it. You don't really think about it. You don't really have any decision or choice in the thing. However, the 3Ps framework forces you, because I won't let you progress until you get that done. It forces you to be very self-reflective, like Michelle said, to get clarity around what is it that you want to do and how can we strategically build in moments of joy for you. That's why we talk about passion. It's not your life's passion. It's just like, what do you like to do in work? How do you want your day-to-day work to look like? How can we blend that in so it
Right.
increases your job satisfaction rates, your career satisfaction rates? So for the 3Ps framework, to hear you say that, that's not uncommon, because it typically takes people about 30 to 45 days on average
Mhm.
to go through the career clarity process. And the hardest part is to get people to dream a little, because dream
Yes.
is scary. And it's the unlearning of what society, your family, your professors, all of the people have told you can do for work and what you can't do. So when I'm having people go through the clarity piece, they are struggling to try to rationalize the idea they have in their mind with the actual job. And I'm like, that you're going too far. I don't want you to do that. I just want you to dream up what you would ideally like to do, not try to connect it with a job that you are familiar with. So I love that you taught about that. I'm trying to think, did I ever have to redirect you back to your 3Ps to go back and refine them a little bit more?
It's very possible. Because for population, I probably had like 3 or 4 different things. I was like, I want to do it all.
Because Michelle, outside of her career life, she does a lot of things. And I'm like, that's not what you told me. And then when we had that get to know you chat, how do we get here? Right. And so,
Yeah, yeah. And I eventually changed it. And yeah, eventually I got there. It's
yeah,
just the journey to get there. Oh man, it was challenging, but you have to challenge yourself and
yeah.
think outside of the box, like you said.
Yes. So what was the biggest breakthrough for you while inside of the accelerator? What was there a moment where things turned around for you?
I think deciding on my 3Ps, and then also during the resume intensive, that was like mind blowing. And before I joined the cohort, it's been like over 6 years since I have updated my resume. So I didn't know like what's in, what are the trends or what have you. But like going into detail, um, not just saying what I did, like I don't know, for example, compared graphs or whatever. Okay. So it's like changing it so that I increased this by doing that, or, what have you. So I really had to think about that for like all my jobs. And then also just having like a master resume. So I can now, if I were to look for something else, I can just go back to that and pull out what's relevant for the next position whenever that time comes. And having that at the ready, instead of like digging through old files and stuff of like what I did and looking for old resumes, like that, super helpful. And then even now, like just taking notes on what I'm doing on the trainings I've completed. And so I know, and I can like keep that in the place as I learn things so that it's ready to add whenever I need to put it on the resume. So yeah, like keeping that notebook with all your notes and everything. Yes, that it worked. It was like, okay, this was worth it. I'm so glad I am here.
I love it. Yeah. So most definitely. So this is for the listeners. In as a part of being inside of the micro to macro career accelerator, everyone gets a one-on-one resume writing intensive,
Yes.
and it's 2 hours long. Sometimes we go over, but I call them Zoom days because it's me and the person. So it's me and Michelle, and I am knee deep in understanding where she has been in her career life, and I identifying and uncovering what experience she has that can position her as a top candidate. This is how my people get macro jobs. So I'm uncovering it, but I'm also explaining it to her and teaching her the process I'm not writing the resume. And so
Right.
from there, I show through example, like one job, maybe two jobs if we get that far. And then they are responsible for writing out the rest of their
Mm-hmm.
resume and essentially translating all of their jobs to macro level experiences. Because every social worker has done macro level work in your current job. It's just you have to be taught how to identify those transferable experiences.
Right.
And so the physical thing that people take away, in addition to all of the other things that I teach them from the accelerator, is a master final copy of their resume where they have translated all of the jobs
Yes.
they ever had. Because Michelle heard me talk about, you don't want to be crying real tears when you go to apply for a job and they want to know your life history. You don't have
Yes.
anywhere. You're trying to write,
Right.
right? So let's just do it
Mm.
now and you just add your new jobs to it. So I love to hear that. I also love to hear that you're still keeping the practice of tracking your monthly career wins and things that you're doing
Mm-hmm.
to add on your resume.
Right.
That so what I want to talk about here, and I'm gonna put you on the spot. Can you give the people a broad overview of either your 3 Ps or your mission statement so that they can understand what you had, what the vision was that you created for your career and the type of macro work you wanted to do before we get into talking about your macro job that you got?
Okay, so I knew I should have bookmarked that page so I have it at the ready. But I did have my notebook. So let me just find it to give you an idea. So just one moment because
Okay,
I
no
knew
problem.
that
And
was
while you're doing that, so I'm going to
yes.
explain to the listeners. So there's the 3 Ps framework. That is where I help people through the framework get clarity around their passion, any outside passions they have for work, and how we can strategically blend that into their career. It's not the passion part of the framework is not where you're monetizing your most closely held passions. It's where, can we take one out of your list of 30 things that you like to do and blend it into your job? That way you can be doing something that you get excited about on some level, even if it's on a 20% out of your full 100% scope of work. And then the second P is purpose. And it's not purpose of your life purpose, it's purpose of what do you want your career legacy to be. And how we do that is by getting a clear picture of what you want your day-to-day work to look like. For many of you, you are out of alignment because you are working in jobs doing work that you don't like. What I mean by that is we have people who are natural introverts. A lot of my people are introverts because I'm an introvert. I attract my people. So we have natural introverts who are in jobs where it's very people heavy. So you're serving people all day long. You're on call 24/7. You're always on. You're always on. This is why you're so drained and depleted at the end of the day. Yes, it's a bad job, but it's also because you're not in an aligned area of work. I have people who are very like artsy, like Michelle. She makes headbands, cultural headbands and wraps outside of work and sells them, right? And I'm like,
Oh, I
oh,
don't sell them. I just wear
oh,
them. So
I think
I
I've been trying to
support
get you to sell them.
Black-owned businesses. I will wear the head wraps, the outfits, the dresses, the skirts, earrings, what have you. Black culture, African culture. I love it. So that, yeah.
Yes, so I think I've been trying to get Michelle to sell them. Okay, so yeah, so like a lot of people are art centered, arts focused, like art lovers, like Michelle. But however, you're working in jobs that are very administrative paperwork, where you're sitting at a desk all day, you have no creative freedom. And so then the third P is population and issue. What population are you the most passionate about? What social justice issue are you the most passionate about? Let's build a career out around that. And so
Mhm.
that's what the 3 Ps are. And then from the 3 Ps, once they develop that, I help them teach them how to create a mission statement that helps them in many other areas. It helps them with the clarity piece. It helps them stay focused on what the goal is, but it also helps them in writing their resume and interviewing and also going up for like promotions and future career planning. So Michelle is gonna run down, I put her on the spot, run down her 3 Ps and or mission statement. But I want people to hear that, to see like, this is what you created for yourself before you even, if you didn't even know if it was a job out there that matched it.
Right. Okay. So, passion, initially, I shared as ideally Black women in health. But that can encompass working with Black people as a whole also. But specifically, because of my life experiences with endometriosis and having fibroids and going through all I went through, I wanted to focus on Black women. So my passion was dealing with the physical, mental, and emotional health. Oops, sorry, I was reading from the screen. Let me go back here. When it comes to menstrual health disorders or things of that nature. The purpose, how I would do this work, increasing the quality of life, knowledge of women's health issues, educate on what questions to ask healthcare professionals, like if you're diagnosed with something like fibroids or endometriosis, knowing what questions to ask, asking for resources, and just being able to advocate for yourself. So educating women on how to do that so they know what questions to ask and know that they're not alone in that. So this would be done by education, advocacy, or research. And purpose would be Black women, and then also if I found a position that focused on African Americans, that would be fine too. But my main focus is Black women.
Love that. I was taking my notes because so I want to talk about something, but I want to wait. So that was the vision that you created. That you were like, this is what type of work I would ideally like. She didn't know if it existed. However, inside of the accelerator, I taught, just like everyone else, I taught her the strategies to go out in the labor market and find the opportunity, right? Which, how I refer to it, create your own job opportunity. You know what you want. Now go find the thing. But I teach them strategies to find organizations that align with this vision and positions that align with it. So we're doing career exploration. We are doing job searching and matching. My people are job matching experts. Like that was the thing I specialized in. Workforce development. And so now they're good at doing it. So regardless of how Michelle's desires and needs and wants change for the rest of her career, she knows how to go out and find the job that she wants and not get stuck in a place where she's unsatisfied or just stay in the same type of jobs that she knows she does not like. So it really truly is a skill that she will have the rest of her career life, even in retirement.
Yes.
With that, can you talk to us about what type of job you ended up getting and what
Sure. Yeah, so I now work at a university as a project coordinator in research. And what that research is studying is comparing two minority neighborhoods in the city and looking at how their life experiences of the participants, the residents in the neighborhoods, are affected and how that may affect their cognition in the future. So this is definitely related to health equity. The participants are primarily Black. The people, they're called data collectors, who go out to get the information and do the surveys. They're generally from the neighborhoods. So I'm working with a lot of Black people who are familiar with these neighborhoods. And as the project coordinator, I am basically using my organization skills for like creating the timelines of when things need to be done, keeping our principal investigators on track of, you know, what the goals are, things of that nature. So that's what I've been doing now for like the past 90 days, and I enjoy it. It's been a big learning curve, still learning, and I really enjoy where I'm at and what I'm doing.
I love that. So I'm just going to ask you this for the people also. Did you need a public health degree to do that?
No. I
Okay.
did not.
She's just using her MSW degree.
MSW degree, yes.
Yes. So with that, right? I wanted to say that Michelle was the unicorn for this position, just like everybody else that you all see on the here on the podcast, see on the videos about these jobs. She was the unicorn because I remember when Michelle emailed me, was like, I got an interview, and she know to send me the job post because I like the details. I'm looking at the job post. I said, and I think you said something in the email. You were like, I think it's because of this experience. I was like, no, it's because you worked over here with the seniors in the food pantry, but you were doing
Yes,
the organization of the program, the program
right.
management, the program coordination. She was doing all of the logistical background, like
Mm-hmm.
admin stuff for the program. And I was like, it's that. That's what they like, right? And so with that, Michelle has really truly been able to flip that experience. But however, what really truly made her the unicorn was that she also, in her free time, and I didn't talk about this earlier on purpose, in her free time, she has done community education extensively for
Yes.
Black women around reproductive health, health education. So she knows how to run programming like this, but she also has a deep level of knowledge and expertise around providing community education, right? So even though
Mm-hmm.
they didn't explicitly have that named on the job post, like we want someone with this, that makes her the unicorn because she understands firsthand the scope of work, like the real objective they're aiming for in this research. So I was over the moon. I was like, I already know you're gonna get the job.
Yes,
I
yes.
already know. And I love how you so eloquently taught about your work and using your organizational skills. Look at you using what you learned. I love it. So how has you've been loving the job? It's been 90 days. You either you just celebrated your 90 days this week, or is it going to be next
This
this
week,
week?
yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
how has your life changed personally
Yes.
from before where you were to where you are now? Have there been any changes?
Oh, yes. I am making let's say maybe 25,000 more than I was previously. So that helps the family income. Um, there's flexibility with it. I don't have to be in the office every day. There's opportunities to work from home. And that's especially important with a 7-year-old. So being able to like drop them off, pick them up from school, things like that. Um, there's some other benefits that I can't think of, but I'm at peace. And you can't put a price on that.
No, you can't.
Uh, and
Most
it's really good. I'm in a good place.
I love to hear that. So also, what I just wrote down in my notes is that when you read your 3 Ps, it was the focus was a job centered around education, advocacy, research. Those are the words I wrote down.
Mm-hmm.
The health equity. Were you ever tempted, like in your job search, because maybe you weren't getting jobs right away? Were you ever tempted to go off path and say, I'm just going to apply to something? I have this wonderful,
Yes.
I'm just going to apply. And if you did, which is
Yes,
yes, what
I
made
have
you
thought of
come
that.
back focused? What made you get
I
back?
was like, I didn't come this far just to get like another direct practice job. So yes, I was tempted because I really wanted something different. And yes, the thought was there, but I knew I couldn't come all this way and then just not. So definitely thought that. And I want to share something with you that I didn't tell you before when it comes to like the community education. Um, I came across an organization that focused on Black women and endometriosis. And they were having a conference maybe 3.5 hours away from me. So I reached out to one of my girlfriends and was like, hey, can I stay with you? I want to go to this conference because it's related to like my interests, my life experiences, and I'm going to meet other people, other women who've gone through the same thing. So I took a little road trip by myself for the weekend to go to this conference, and I made it my goal to like network and like put myself out there to talk, with the other women. And it was so wonderful. And it also helped me to like build confidence when it comes to like just introducing myself to people, what I do, what my interests are, how endo has affected me, and listening to other women's stories. So just being able to say, I'm gonna go to this by myself, knowing I don't know anyone who's going to be there, and just try to, reach out and network. It was such a great experience. So I don't think I would have done that really had I not gone through like the cohort and talked more about what my interests and passions are. So doing that was like earlier this year or so, but that was just an amazing experience. And I'm so glad I stepped out of my comfort zone to attend that conference because it was great.
I love that. I love to hear that. Thank you for sharing that because again, for the listeners, that's my biggest urge to the people in the accelerator. I want you to go hang out with your people, not social workers. So to hear that you got in your car and you drove 3 to 4 hours away,
Yeah.
not saying, oh, there are going to be other social workers there, and you went with your people because you two are the experts. So you need to go
Yes.
with your people. Right? I love that. I love that. And also, with that being said, like on that same note, because I work with a large, I have extroverts too, but I have a large number of introverts that come through the accelerator. And I just really want to amplify for the ones listening that in
Mhm.
order to do macro social work jobs, you don't have to be the face of the organization. You don't have to be the CEO. You don't have to be the president of the thing. You can still do mission-driven work that supports and moves the needle for your thing, for your population and issue. So to hear you talk about that you are the project coordinator of research and you are the brain behind the machine of this massive piece of research that's being done in your regional area is major. It's because you're not in a role that's forcing you to show up as something different than yourself. You have really
Right.
tapped into your zone of genius because Michelle in that food pantry, she was managing budgets and
The
contracts.
volunteers.
Yeah, and I was
Yeah.
like, you are
Yeah.
doing all of that, Michelle. Michelle, good job, right? And
Yeah.
so to hear that you are where you're supposed to be, because I always say those case management, direct practice jobs, we are so much bigger than that.
Right.
To see that you're where you are and you deserve it, most definitely, because you truly are the unicorn. So I'm gonna wrap this thing up, but before we get
Okay.
off, I want you to leave the listeners with one thing that maybe is dropping in your heart to share with them. It could be anything. You could speak to a person who's maybe on the fence about coming into the accelerator, or just something that you want to share with someone who's maybe feeling a little like pain or angst in their career.
Yes. I would say go for it. Give it a try. It's worth the investment. And had I not gone through it, I would probably just be at another direct practice type of position and not really happy. So I was able to reach my goal of finding a macro job, figuring out what my transferable skills are, and making more money. Because really, when it comes down to it, yes, we are helpers, but we all have bills and rents, mortgage, what have you. You still need to make adequate money for what you're doing. So give it a try, step out of your comfort zone. It'll be worth it.
Most definitely, that's a great way to end that. And I thought about when you talked about comfort zone, a large piece of it for many people is the confidence piece, right? And so
Yes.
I work with my people on that as well through the accelerator. And I was like, oh yeah, that was even more a bigger of a win that you went to the conference because that tackled all of the confidence work we did. I love
Yeah.
it. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
your time out. Do you have like a platform or anything where you share your cultural garb or anything like that? I didn't ask
Um,
where we recorded.
you know what? I haven't been super active. I do have an IG page, but I'll give it to you
Okay,
and you can
that's
pass it
fine.
on.
That's fine. Yeah. So people, if you want to, if you have a question for Michelle, just email me. Go click macroandpay.com.
Yes.
It links you out to me. But Michelle, we will have you back. We're gonna have to do a check-in maybe at the year point. But I'm so thankful
Right.
put time out on your busy day to meet with me. For everyone else, grab the free e-course at macroandpaid.com. It's the link below. Great starting point to learn about macro social work careers. If you want to work with me, enrollment is opening in October 16th to be exact, for cohort 16. It's going to be opening October 15th for cohort 16 of the Micro to Macro Career Accelerator. Click the link down in the comments, visit macroandpaid.com, join the wait list. I'm having a series of pre-enrollment workshops. If you join the wait list, you'll get a special invite, and it's where you can start doing this clarity work that Michelle is talking about before you actually join the accelerator. So everything that you need to know is at macroandpaid.com. Until then, happy macro career planning. Bye.
Bye-bye.